SEC quarterback tiers for 2024. Now, if you've been tuned in for a while, you know that not that long ago, we gave you our quarterback rankings. I'll rephrase that. We gave you our quarterback projected rankings for 2024. So not where they stand currently, but where they're going to be at the end of the season. This is a little bit different. This isn't so much a ranking as it is a tier. I want you to think more about groups over specific quarterbacks being ahead of other quarterbacks, all right? So, full disclaimer too, I think the SEC has the best quarterback play in all of college football. I think it is the deepest quarterback conference in all of college football. And I think as we go through this list, you kind of look at who's in what group and you're like, man, that guy's in the lower tier. Like that's a good player. He could probably be a top end player in X, Y, and Z conference, but in the SEC, it's brutal, man. It's brutal. So I want to work from the bottom up here. And the first tier that we're going to address together is that seeing is believing in college football for us. Like very much so like Santa Claus and your buddy's benchmarks. I need to see it before I can totally buy into the idea that that's actually going to be what happens. That's not a knock on what they are currently. It's just a question, quite frankly. Seeing is believing. And so who I have in that group is Peyton Thorne, Jackson Arnold, Lenoris Sellers, Blake Shapen, Taylon Green, and then whoever ends up winning that Vanderbilt quarterback competition. I think it's going to be the New Mexico State transfer, but I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of the year it was Nate Johnson, the transfer from Utah. Peyton Thorne and Jackson Arnold to me are the most interesting. Let's start with Peyton Thorne. We've seen him do it at a high level at Michigan State. Like we went and sat down with Hugh Freeze this past spring, and he's like, yeah, the dude threw for I don't know how many thousand yards when he was at Michigan State. That's still big-time football, still the Big Ten. Not like he's a G5 transfer trying to find his way at Auburn. Like, yes, it's the SEC. That's difficult. But I really think that for him, the excitement level, if I'm an Auburn fan, should be a bit higher than what you got to see last year because of Hugh Freeze running the offense, because of the fact that you got him more weapons, because of the fact he got spring practice. And then Jackson Arnold is interesting, too, because a lot of what you were excited about him with, if you're an Oklahoma fan, is the fact that he was a 5-star player coming out of high school. And so you saw him at the end of last year a little bit. You saw him in the bowl game, and there was a lot of good, I believe, in that bowl game, but there was also quite a few turnovers that made you nervous. Seeing is believing for this group. Lenoris Sellers and Taylon Green, I think, are very similar in the sense that both have tremendous physical tools. Taylon Green, transferred from Boise State. If you don't know that name, he is a walking highlight. Go ahead and YouTube Taylon Green and what he did over there at Boise State. He's 6'6", 223 pounds, jumping over people, defying physics. So, I mean, he's a baller. Lenoris Sellers, they're really excited about him at South Carolina, and they got some dudes out there. So keep an eye on those two. I'm excited for them. Blake Shapen, transferred from Baylor to Mississippi State. I really like the fit for him and Jeff Lebby's air raid offense. I've told this story before, but I was out there in Jerry World when Baylor was playing Oklahoma State for the Big 12 championship game. Blake Shapen has to play in that game when he hasn't been the starter pretty much all season and walks in there, and the ball barely touched the floor that first half. I mean, he was dealing. So just because we haven't seen Blake Shapen have that kind of success since that game, consistently at least, I think what Jeff Lebby is going to allow him to do should have the folks in Stark Vegas feeling pretty excited. So I'll leave it at that. But that group, again, I'm not knocking them. To me, it's just I need to see a little bit more before I have 110% belief. But the top end of that group for me, again, would be Peyton Thorne, and it would be Jackson Arnold. So this is the next tier that this is why we call it the ultimate tier. You're not going to see a tier like this on any other college football rankings or any other college football shows, rankings or tiers, whatever. This is the group that I trust like I trust my Uber Eats order. And what I mean by that is, like, we've all ordered from Uber Eats, and if you haven't, I would encourage you to do so. They don't sponsor the show, but if you're watching right now and you're an Uber Eats fan, or you're high up with Uber Eats, let us know. I usually feel pretty good about what I'm getting in that bag when they drop it off on my doorstep. Like 90% of the time, the order's correct, the food is quality, the food is hot if it's supposed to be hot, and like everything looks to be in order. However, we've all had that 5% of the time where you check the bag and you're like, ah, man, they forgot my fries, they forgot the sauce, they forgot the straw, they forgot the drink, whatever. So there's that little bit of hesitation that you have but at the same time, you feel pretty good about him for the most part. In this group, I have Graham Mertz, Connor Wegman, and Brock Vandagriff. Now, Graham Mertz, good year in 2023. Was getting dunked on like crazy when he transferred from Wisconsin, and everyone was saying what he wasn't going to do and how many turnovers he had, and then he went out and had 3 interceptions, almost 3,000 yards, and 20 touchdowns. Graham Mertz had a difficult situation that he walked into at Florida, and I mean, quite frankly, they did not have enough weapons for him to be able to, I think, play as well as he could have first year in the system, but like, I think he's set up for success. I feel pretty good about him. Now, the thing that you're looking at, the thing that you're wondering about if you're a Florida fan is like, all right, is there a chance now that old Graham Mertz shows back up at some point in time during this season? You don't think so, but still, like that Uber Eats order, you're just going to check the bag, make sure, okay, I feel good about this. Let's roll. Connor Wegman, extremely, extremely high floor. We've seen him play really well in a small sample size. The problem for my guy is he just can't stay healthy. But when we've seen him be able to stay healthy, like he was a 5-star for a reason now. Okay, he was what he was coming out of high school for a reason. I think that this new system for him could ultimately be the difference. I think the weapons around him are solid and I think the running game as well is going to be more than solid. If they can protect him, that's going to be a massive factor, but also just him staying healthy is really the end-all be-all for me with him. If he can stay healthy, I think A&M is somewhere like a 9, potentially 8-win football team, depending on how those games go. Not their ceiling, but that's kind of where I'd peg them at right now. Now, Brock Vandagriff is the one that probably raises the most eyebrows if you're watching this and he's in this group for you, because he hasn't really played a whole lot of college football, transferred over from Georgia. My thing with Brock Vandagriff is like he was a 5-star player out of high school, and just because you didn't beat out Carson Beck, who is going to appear later on this list, doesn't mean you can't play ball. And when we were tracking this quarterback battle last spring and into last fall camp, there was a lot of rumblings over at Dogs HQ that like, hey, Carson Beck is playing really well. He's been around for a long time, but like Brock Vandagriff, man, he's making it tough on this staff. Now it sounds like ultimately Carson Beck was just the more consistent option, but Brock Vandagriff is a good athlete. He's got a rocket for an arm. And also, man, he's got Dane Brown. Dane Brown and Berrien Brown and Dane Key, I played college football with a guy named Dane Brown. So, Dane Brown, if you're watching, shout out. Dane Key and Berrien Brown, 2 of, I believe, the most electric young wide receivers in college football, could stretch the field. I'm just saying, if Brock Vandagriff is similar to what they wanted Devin Leary to be last year, I think is a more mobile option, honestly. I wouldn't sleep on Brock Vandagriff. I feel pretty good about how he's going to translate over to that system out there at Kentucky. Now, this next tier is the group that I'm most excited about. Not necessarily the creme de la creme, but the group that I am most excited about, and that is the get your popcorn ready kind of tier. And Nick Bragg's our resident movie buff. Like, before you walk into the theater, you get the popcorn, the excitement starts to build. You sit down before the previews if you're a real junkie, and then like you're locked in, you're ready because you feel like something big is about to happen. That's how I feel about this group. We got Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe, Brady Cook from Missouri, Garrett Nussmeier from LSU, and Nico Iamaleava from Tennessee. Now this tier, again, is more of a projection than a current ranking. Jackson Dart's going into year 3 in the system, and if he takes a step like he did from year 1 to year 2 to year 3, like all bets are off. If he's able to be a quicker decision maker, if he's able to improve on things that maybe he saw in his game last year that weren't at a level he wanted them to be at, they're going to be dangerous because they have more weapons for the football too. Juice Wells is there. Trey Harris is back. Tight end play is good. Like they're going to be in good shape. So Jackson Dart is about to have a massive, massive season. He was in that top 5 for us when it came to college football quarterbacks in the sport, period. I'm excited about Jackson Dart. Jalen Milroe, I've said this many times too, I think he's a Heisman finalist. I really do. I've talked myself into that. And the way that it felt to me at first, I was like, I don't know. His game is very different than Michael Penix Jr. I don't know how that's going to fit with Kalen DeBoer's system. And then the more that I thought about it, the more that I looked at it, the more that we saw Jalen Milroe in the spring game, I was like, okay, this is going to work. And it's a lot. Like the comp for me is like, people who dip their French fries and milkshakes, it sounds like it wouldn't work. It sounds like it'd be weird, but then you try it and you're like, oh my gosh, how did I ever live my life without this? That's Jalen Milroe in this offense. They're going to equip him to be a more consistent passer by giving him more access throws, giving him more layups, to call a spade, and then they're going to create a lot of space for him to do what he does and be special in the open field. Calling my shot. He'll be a Heisman finalist. Brady Cook, no Cody Schrader. Lose some production on defense. You lose your defensive coordinator from last year, but all that means is they're going to put more weight on number 12's shoulders and ask him to do what he does and be Mr. Brady, let him cook. The encore performance we're asking for is 29 total touchdowns, over 3,000 yards passing, and they got some weapons for him to do that. Theo Weiss Jr., he's back. One of the more underrated wide receivers in college football. Luther Burden, the best wide receiver in college football, he's also back. So I think Brady Cook getting another year under his belt and having those weapons back with him, that chemistry, I think it's going to make for a really explosive season and a big year for number 12 out there in Columbia. Now, Garrett Nussmeier has not been the guy yet at LSU. He's going to be this season. And that offense, now you lose Mike Denbrock to Notre Dame, but Joe Sloan, I believe, still had a pretty heavy influence on what happened last year offensively and all the success Jaden Daniels had. Yes, you lose 2 first-round picks to the NFL draft. They still got some dudes out there. I have gone on record and said I think Lacey and Nussmeier, Kyron Lacey that is, the wide receiver out there, and Garrett Nussmeier, who I'm mentioning right now, is going to be one of the top 10 duos in college football. CJ Daniels, a 1,000-yard receiver from Liberty. This offense, man, it's built to be full throttle wide open. Okay, that is how they want to live. And going into last season, the thing we talked a lot about on this show is like, hey, can Jaden Daniels unhitch the wagon? Like, can he push it deep just a little bit more? That's not a problem for Garrett Nussmeier, man. Like, he's one of those guys where you got to pull the reins back a little bit. And I think that's something they've worked on really since he's been at LSU and kind of dialed him in a little bit more. Good decisions mean big numbers, mean a lot of points being scored in Baton Rouge. So Garrett Nussmeier, I believe, will have a big year this year. And then the final one is Nico Iamaleava. And he's another guy that probably will catch some flack for having him on the list, and that's fine, having him in this tier because he hasn't been the guy at Tennessee just yet. He started the bowl game, looked really good running the football, played against a really good defense, so it was hard to get a great gauge for him as a processor of actual college football defenses in Iowa. But the thing with Nico, like there's something that's a little bit unquantifiable when you talk about him and what he's going to be in Knoxville this year. Like, he fits this tier perfectly for me because it feels like we're about to experience something really big. Like the way that he's talked about, the way that Josh Heupel talks about him, the way that we got to see him practice when he was out there during spring football. Like, the dude's special. The dude's very special. There's a reason why he was the number 1 player for us here at On 3 in that 2023 cycle. One thing that I don't know gets talked enough about Nico, dude's maturity is off the charts. Like, there's all this talk around NIL and what he's getting and what, all the things he's going to be at Tennessee. And, like, he's kept it very low profile. Everything that we've heard internally about him at Tennessee has been off the charts, hard worker, leader. Guys love him. Like, I'm just saying, I think that matters for a guy in his position. And I think the system and what Nico brings to the table from a skill set perspective is going to be a match made in heaven. So I think all of those guys are about to have a massive season in 2024. And that's a lot of quarterbacks now. I understand that. But looking at what's drawn up for them and look at the way that they have some continuity, especially with Milroe, Dart, and Cook, like, we're not asking for the moon here from those guys. We're asking them to just kind of build on what they did last year. Now, there's one final tier here with 2 more quarterbacks, and that is Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers. And the tier that I have them in is, like, I would trust these individuals with my life. Like, if you told me, hey, JD, got good news, I got bad news. The bad news is if we don't score on this drive, that's the end of the road for you, brother. Like, you will have breathed your last breath. Morbid, I know, but just roll with me here. Good news, you get to pick your quarterback. Okay, I'm taking either Quinn Ewers or Carson Beck, and I don't really care who it is. The reason why I'm so high on both these dudes, the production speaks for itself. Like, I mean, Carson Beck threw for almost 4,000 yards last year. Quinn Ewers threw for north of 3,400, right around 3,500. The thing that I love about both these guys, they're savvy. They have a high completion percentage. Quinn Ewers with 69%. Carson Beck with 70-ish percent. 72%, I believe it was exactly. Both of them take care of the football. Like, Carson Beck had 6 interceptions last year. He had 0 multi-interception games. Quinn Ewers, throughout his entire career, has only had 2 multi-interception games. So the point I'm trying to make here is the way these guys have sort of taken on the field general role and the way that they have proven like they are going to be consistent, which is a big thing for Quinn Ewers now based on what he did last year. I think they're the best in college football, not just the SEC. If my life was on the line and we needed to score on one drive, like, I have no issue passing either one of those dudes the keys. So let's review here, shall we? The ultimate SEC quarterback tiers for us here. Got it broken up into several unique tiers. The first tier, or I guess the first tier moving up, is seeing is believing. I got Peyton Thorne at Auburn, Jackson Arnold, Lenoris Sellers at South Carolina, Blake Shapen at Mississippi State, Taylor Green at Arkansas, and then Vandy in their quarterback room, which is not to throw shade. We're going to see who ends up winning that job. Again, I'll go on record. I think Nate Johnson is your guy long term. And then there's the group that I trust. Think they're good. I trust them, but I trust them like I trust my Uber Eats order. Just want to double check. Just want to take a look. I feel good, but I just want to double check. Graham Mertz at Florida. Just don't revert back to Wisconsin. Graham Mertz will be in good shape. Connor Wegman, can we stay healthy? That's a big part of this. And Brock Vandagriff. Haven't seen him hit the field just yet, but like 5-star caliber cat. Just because you didn't play at Georgia doesn't mean we got to knock you for that, all right? Now, the popcorn ready tier is about to have a major, major season, very similar to Boom Watch, if you've been tuned into this show for any length of time. Jackson Dart's going to have a massive year. Jalen Moto and Kalen DeBoer, I think, is just going to be, I think it's going to be just poetry. Brady Cook, yes, you lose some pieces around you, but I think he's still set to have a really good season, and they're going to ask more of him, and you'll see his production have an uptick. Garrett Nussmeier, wide open offense. That's how he likes to live his life, baby. Wide open, full throttle. Nico Iamaleava, something special to him. I'm excited to watch it. And then the group that I trust my life with, Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers. So let me know where y'all disagree. Again, I'm very much so looking forward to us having 100% agreement across the board. I think that's probably about to happen. But if it's not, just let me know and we'll have a conversation about that. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.